Hello, and welcome to the show On the Edge. I am so excited to have my friend Will Roberts on the show today. Will is an accomplished actor. He's an award winner. He has appeared in Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. He has played so many different characters. He's a character in real life, I must say. He does gun tricks, gun spinning, weaponry. He's a classically trained ballet, hip hop, jazz. I don't understand how this man fits all this stuff in his body. Like, it's just crazy. Okay, so welcome to the show, Will.
Oh my gosh! I first of all, I'm very thrilled. I haven't seen you in 100 years, and you look like you did 100 years ago. And like you like 28 now or something.
Yes, well, I'm 35. I
There
will
you go.
forever.
Yeah. So I haven't seen you in a long time, but I watch all your stuff on Instagram, and I was actually very pleasantly surprised to see that you are doing this. I have this little running joke that I tell people. They go, "Guess what I'm doing?" I'm like, "A podcast, huh?" Yeah. Anyway, just because I spent like 35 years in radio back when radio, and then I was all the voiceover stuff that I do. I have a voiceover studio and my green screen
Mhm.
studio, but you are one of the few that I can honestly say I'm so glad you're doing this because I've known you for a long time and have been right there behind you, pushing you forward, and
Hey,
yeah.
you are not going to make me cry in my
Oh,
interview with you.
I hope you're not crying because of the things you have done. No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So I'm excited.
Ah, yes, and thank you. Thank you so much. I watch you, and like I just said, how do you do all these things? You are the epitome of a performer. It's just, you amaze me. You really, really
Well,
do.
well, I wish I amazed the casting directors. I'm kidding. Uh,
Well,
no,
apparently you.
I think that's a really good sort of opening question to ask
Mhm,
because, I always say they say jack of all trades, master of none. Actually, there's a whole phrase that goes with that as well. But, finally at this point in my life, have mastered a few of these. But more importantly, people ask me all the time, they go, What don't you do?" And I go, Well,
yes.
I don't do Windows. Anyway,
Or, well, we won't go
yeah, well, yeah. But the thing is that I decided a long time ago in my career as a professional actor, and I'm not going to say how far I go back. I'll just say, man, the '80s were cool.
there. Mhm.
But I will say that I made a decision a long time ago that, well, first of all, I'm a really bad waiter. And so I didn't want to become a waiter. So I
Mhm.
learned everything I could in the industry, in what I did as a performer, because I'm a professional clown, I'm a
Mhm.
trick roper, gun spinner, whip artist, balloon artist, professional
Mhm.
magician, and then, I'm also extremely tech savvy, and we'll get into that
Mhm.
because I realized that very early in my in my career, I did a lot of theater. I did like 30, 35 years of theater, like dance, sing, act, because I wanted to go to Broadway, and that's what I wanted
Mhm.
to do. And then I quickly realized that if you wanted to make money, that
Mhm.
theater probably wasn't what you wanted to do
Yeah.
unless you moved to New York and you became a gypsy or you
Mhm.
just kept doing that. But I wanted to wound up going into film and TV. But the reality is that I realized, and I'm saying this here now in this day and age, is that the more you know, the more valuable you are.
Yeah.
And back in the day, I would be sitting in my dressing room going, "Well, I'm ready for my close-up,
That's
Mr. DeMille,
right.
and where are my red M&Ms, and where's my and me be a stage manager?"
Right.
No, I would never. But as I've really I'm glad that I kind of slapped myself around early in my career and said, you need to learn how to shoot this. I've been doing this since
Yes.
the iPhone 3. And
Yes.
oh yeah, and doing verticals years ago
Mhm.
when it wasn't popular, just because I realized that, well, first of all, I came from the south side of Chicago. And so I moved what 15 times before I was 10, and people would go, "Oh, was your dad military?" I said, "No, bad checks."
Mm.
Funny and sad,
Oh.
but true. And I realized that in order for me to be able to do what I needed to do, I had to learn those skills because I didn't go
Mhm.
to school to do it. So,
Mhm.
anyway, the bottom line is in answer to that question, I do so many things because number one, I don't like waiting for people. I don't
Right.
like to let dust settle. And
Mhm.
you know me, we shot that. Remember that thing I shot with you? We did a couple of stunt
Yes.
punches, and yeah, I was doing that stuff. How long ago was that? A
I was
long time,
trying to remember this morning. I don't
a
know.
while
It was a
back.
while back.
At
Yeah.
your kid's school, I think, or someone's school.
Yeah, yes.
And
Yes.
it was a park. And so I knew that later on you said I have to go pick up my kid or something. So I don't even know how old they were at that point.
Well, she's 18 now and she was in elementary school. So, anyway, moving on. So, okay, back to
Wow.
Oppenheimer.
Sorry, that would
Stop
get me.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back to Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
When you got that call,
Oh boy.
did you like explode? Did you
N-
jump off the walls? What
no,
happened?
no, I didn't.
No?
No, and I'll tell you a couple of reasons, and not all of them are mental health. Anyway, but the reality is that a couple of things. It really interesting story because I've been running around the uh, film festival circuit and doing Q&As about
Mm.
Oppenheimer. By the way, I just found out from a good friend of mine in the cast that literally they're re-releasing Oppenheimer in 70 millimeter IMAX
Oh,
coming up here in the next, I don't know, month or less, which is kind of cool. But and by the way, if you see yourself in 70 millimeter on a thing, you better
ooh,
know that when
yeah.
you were younger, you should have taken care of your skin
Yes.
because it's like. But the interesting story about Oppenheimer is that I was talking to my agent at the time, months and months before, Michael Gerard from Esprit Talent, and I said, Michael, it's kind of tough right now, and I'm only going to say this just because I think it's an important thing, is that we are constantly under the microscope
Mm.
and under the thumb and always into we have to accept rejection. It's the
Right.
thing. You, as an actor, you kind of go,
Mhm.
"Yeah, I didn't get it." They go, "How do
Mm.
you get through that?" And I go, "The minute I audition, I go, it's over.
Mhm.
Whatever.
Mhm.
I didn't get it." But in this case, I hadn't talked to my agent in a while, and I'm like, I finally got a hold of him. I'm like, Michael, what's up, man? I'm not getting many auditions. He goes, well, I'm not gonna lie to you. You're in that demographic where you're not. It's not gonna. You're not a 20-year-old Vampire Diary. I'm like, I'm not anyway.
Right.
But and that's why again my skills come into play a lot. You're a
Yeah.
stunt woman. You're a
Yeah.
stunt person. I
Mm.
mean, sometimes we get on set for the reasons why we don't want to be on set,
Mhm.
but we still work and then we network and we do our thing. But I tried to get a hold of him, and when I did get a hold of him, he goes, "Yeah, by the way, right now I got a little something. I think I might have COVID. I'm in the hospital.
Mm.
I'm good." And I go, "Okay, cool." So then a month goes by, and I'm like, Michael, I hadn't seen an audition. Now, this is the guy that would text me at 1 in the morning and say, "You got an audition from John Papsadera. Check it out," or a Westworld or whatever. And I'd be like, "Oh,
Mhm.
cool." And and my wife would be like, "Why are you getting a text at 1 in the morning?" I'm like, "It's my
Mhm.
agent. Don't worry." Anyway, but the fact is that he hadn't gotten a hold of me, and so I reached out to him again, and he goes, yeah, I'm okay. And then I reached out to him again, and nothing, 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 crickets. And so
Oh,
finally, I get this audition after about a month and a half of nothing, and I'm like, oh, and I get the audition. Whoa, that was
that was
weird.
cool. Yeah.
That's really cool. If I
That
do
new
this, will it
iPad.
do? Anyway, I want to see if it does it. So the bottom line is that I was getting nothing from him, and so finally I got this audition, and it was from John Papsadera. And if you know who John Papsadera is,
Mhm.
he's pretty much the casting god. Westworld, 1883, Yellowstone. He is the guy,
Right.
and consequently he also is really big into cowboy stuff, so that's kind of
Mhm.
cool. But John, I was told through my agent, said really likes you, likes your work, and so on. And I kind of felt like I was being tested over the years. And so finally, I got this audition. It was from a film called Gadget, and I'm like, okay. And I looked it up, didn't see it, and I
Mm.
got this script, and I'm like, this is a fake script.
Oh, yeah.
This is not a real script. And I
Yeah.
can see, and I'm like, this is a test script.
Mm.
So I did it, and then I sent it to a good friend of mine who is a really good coach, which I don't usually, I just know her. And I go,
Mhm.
she goes, well, let me see it. She goes, do it again, but slow it down. I go, okay. So I did it, and it was very like blue suit, tie,
Mhm.
it was a government person, like a military.
Mhm.
And I did it, and I sent it in, and the problem was that, as you may or may not know, of course you probably do, is that you can't push through something on Actors Access your agent pushes it through or your manager. And so I'm sitting there with this thing in the queue going, here's my audition, and I've got 4 hours left before it becomes null and void. And
No.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I mean, this is ridiculous. So finally, I had to fire that agent because he wouldn't respond to me and none of his people would.
Oh.
And then I wound up getting a real quick agent through my friend, which
Mhm.
I know we only have a half an hour, which by the way, you're like, can you do a half hour? What do you mean? I'm doing 3 hours here. But the reality is that I couldn't get a response, and so I had to hire another agent at the time. And consequently, about 30 days later, after I did get the role, I wound up finding out that I fired that agent 4 years ago because she was really, really bad. But she did get it through. She
Okay.
got it through, and then
Mhm.
I got an email from her, and she said, "You're pinned." And I go, oh, okay. And for people who don't know in the
Yeah.
industry, pinned means that, and it's different. Back
One
in the
step.
day, it might have been like 5 people. Now it's like you might be 45 people that are pinned, and who knows? And then
Yes.
you never hear anything, and you go, okay, I'm pinned.
Okay.
It's a lot different nowadays. But I got pinned, and I'm like, okay, cool. Literally, I got pinned, and about a minute and a half later, she gets a hold of me. She goes, "You're booked." And I'm like, cool.
Whew.
What is it? So I
Mhm.
search it up. I see nothing.
Nothing.
About 2 hours later, I get an email with the contract, and it's through Universal. And I'm like, wow. And then I see it says that the role is General George C. Marshall. I'm like, or no, it actually says George Marshall. And I'm like, I know that name.
Mm.
So I get online, I do my searching, and I go, and I finally go, it says Oppenheimer, and I'm like, and then I do that search, and I'm like, holy crap, it's Christopher Nolan, and it's Oppenheimer. I find out, I find out 2 days before my agent died of COVID.
Oh. Oh. I
Isn't
wasn't
that sad?
expecting that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So whenever I mention this, I always thank my agent. Oh wait, my
Yes.
agent. I always
Yeah.
thank my.
Oh.
He's
Oh.
an
What?
agent. Come on. Anyway, but that's how that kind of turned out, and it was surprising. Now, to answer your question about how I responded,
Yes.
how long you been doing this, roughly?
Well, 30
Okay,
years.
okay. Again, you look a day over 29.
Thank you.
Point is that I've been doing this for
Longer than me.
just
Let's
a
just
little
say
bit.
that. Yeah.
But we're veterans.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like people say, do you get nervous? And I go, no. I mean, I do. But
Yeah.
then I go horse blinders. And a good friend of mine who, when I was in musical theater, ran a musical theater school. And he would always say to me, he goes, you're going to be a star. I promise you. Once you grow into your nose and your ears, you're going to be a star. I'm like,
I shouldn't laugh at that.
you shouldn't, but it was back when I was 18 and 19. It was like, whatever. And he says, when you do, he goes, you're going to be a star. And I go, okay. He
Mhm.
goes, but remember this, lock it in and blow it out. And
Yeah.
we used to do a lot of really big theater stuff together.
Mhm.
And I said, lock it in, blow it out. And then I realized it was kind of the same thing as a horse race, as a
Yes,
thoroughbred.
yes.
The reason why the thoroughbred horses wear the horse blinders are
Mhm.
not because they're trying to keep the sun out of their eyes. It's
Mhm.
because they're trying to keep from squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. I call it
Right.
scroll now.
Yes.
They
Yes.
keep focused. And he goes, just keep focused. Don't worry about this and do your thing, and you're going to be a star. So the point is that, through all this, what's happened recently, and you know this, our industry is a mess.
Yes.
And I'm not even going to downplay that at all. I
Mm.
don't care if you're union or you're non-union. It's a mess. And if you're not out there trying to do your own thing, your own podcast, your own other stuff, go
Mm.
work at Starbucks. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with that, but
No.
they'll tell you exactly what to press, what to do. You can read the ingredients and go, have a good day.
Yes.
But you have to be pretty tough-skinned and you have to love the game.
Right.
So the bottom line is that when I got that, I was so I was like, oh, I, it wasn't until I was invited to the Oscar party that we
Mhm.
watched on the top in LA with all the cast members, and we're sitting there and did the whole red carpet thing. And then they called it. I'm like getting emotional now that I went, holy crap. I mean, wow. And there was one other thing that happened. I woke up one day, 3 months before the film came out, and I'm
Mhm.
sitting here doing the normal thing we do when we wake up.
Mhm.
Ugh.
Right.
And I look and I go, oh, look, there's a notification on here talking about, oh, there's a new trailer for a movie. And I look and I go, oh, oh, cool, it's Oppenheimer. And I go, oh, this is, what the, that's me.
Oh,
And I'm in the trailer and I say World War II would be over, our boys would come home. I'm like,
yes.
and I had been manifesting, for anybody's sort of
Okay.
understanding,
Mhm.
my manifestation, because I spent what 20, 30 years in radio, and I specialized in producing metaphysical talk radio.
Mhm.
So I'm a Reiki master and all this stuff. I've been all that stuff
See,
anyway.
even more that
But
I don't know.
yeah, all that fun stuff.
Mhm.
But there I go again. Woo! Anyway, I'm dizzy.
Plus
But the
the
point,
iPad, the new iPad. What numbers do you have?
oh, it's iPad
iPad.
not out yet. No,
Oh,
it's a 13 Pro Max. But
okay.
it's awesome because it has Final Cut on it. And I
Cool.
mean, I got it and I couldn't do it on my other one. By the
Mhm.
way, are we stuck at 30 minutes or can you go
No,
longer?
no, we can
Okay,
go longer.
good,
I
because
just, your time is
good
limited.
thing.
So back to the Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
How did you? I don't mean to cut you off, but I have so many
No,
questions
you
for you.
should because you
I
know I'll
should. I
keep
know.
going.
I know. So what? How? I can't even talk now. I'm so excited. How did you develop your character? What did
Oh,
you do? What kind of backstory and research did you do for your character?
now I think you know that answer because you structured that question just perfectly. Bravo. Um, so, I'm a method actor and
Hmm.
I kind of, and it's interesting because well, I can't say that. I can't say anything yet. Um, but I'm a method actor. When I was in theater, I was the guy that, when I came out on stage, I remember doing, oh boy, what's it? Neil Simon, the man and the wife, they get married,
Don't ask
whatever
me.
it is.
I don't know.
Yeah, anyway. And there's a role in it called the Telephone Man. And now I was like maybe 19, 20, 21 years old.
Mhm.
And they said, yeah, you didn't get Paul, the lead, which I know, the name of him, but I don't name it. Oh, Barefoot in the Park. And they go, but there's a really great cameo role we would love you to do called the Telephone Man. And I'm like, what? And this is like kind of the beginning of my career.
Mhm.
And I go, okay, if you let me do what I want to do. So I wound up doing like the Telephone Man, and I did him from New York, and I put a big belly on myself, and at the time, I had to go like this because I wanted wrinkles. Now I
Mhm.
don't need
No,
to.
you don't. Yeah.
And I slicked my hair back. I wanted to be like my dad.
Oh.
And so I came out like, hey, lady, you need help on your telephone. I'm going to take care of it. Anyway, and it was a really good experience because I realized that I liked being different than I am. And
Mhm.
so I'm a method actor in the sense that sometimes I'll go outside in. So for George Marshall, General George C. Marshall, which by the way, it was just listed as George Marshall, and there's an interesting story about getting a fitting on that. I'll tell you if we have time.
Okay.
But I like to be able to be different than myself. Because, we look at each other as actors and we go, oh, you're that type. Oh, you're that
Mhm.
type. Oh, you're
Mhm.
that type. And I've always tried in my career, try not to fall into the category of typecasting.
Right.
Now, we all know I'm one of the top cowboy, gun handler, blah, blah, blah,
World
whatever.
record holder.
Yeah, whatever. But the point is that the point is that I did a film called The Redeemer, big western, should be out soon, I hope, in Montana. And they invited me to Soho, New York, for the big film festival. And the producer is sitting next to me. This is like billionaire dude, and he goes, "Oh man, you got to see the film. I saw a cut of it. You're amazing." And he goes, "You think that the main guy, the bad guy, which is Tim V. Murphy, was the lead in this, but it's not." Watch this film. And I watched it and I'm like, wow. And what I had done was I told the director, I was actually coaching Tim Murphy on gun handling
Mhm.
2 weeks before the film was about to shoot in Montana. And the director said, I'll pay you, do your thing. I met with him, I spun some guns, and then I put it on my Instagram knowing exactly what I was doing. And he
Mhm.
contacted me. He goes, holy crap, you're amazing. He goes, can I write something in the film for you? And I'm like, I don't have a problem with
Yes.
that. It was a SAG film. I'm like, great, going to Montana for
Mhm.
3 weeks. And he wrote in Carl, which was the bad guy, secondary. And turns out I say to him, I go, I'll do it, but you have to let me obviously gun spin and whips. And
Mhm.
he goes, of course. And I go, also, I'm going to get an eye, a whiteout eye contact. I want a scar here, and I'm going to
Mhm.
have a gold tooth here. So it looks like I got hit here in something, a fight,
Mhm.
and I lost a tooth, and it's gold.
Mhm.
Consequently, a week, and he goes, F yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I go, cool. A week before we went to go filming, I don't know how this happened, but right here I have a bond, and I've had it since I was 13 years or 12 years old or something. When I was a kid in Chicago, I fell in trick or treating. I fell in the gutter, and I cracked my tooth, and so it's a bond because it was my adult tooth. And
Mhm.
here I am, I'm talking to my wife or something, and I go, yeah, the hell, why does my tooth feel sharp? I look in the mirror, and it's broken. And I go, oh my God, I have to
Oh,
leave in a week to go film this Western. And I go, wait a minute. So
yeah.
I called up the director and I go, hey, can I talk to you for a second? And he goes, what's wrong with you? I go, I want to show you something and see if you'll let me keep. And I go, look. And he goes, oh, that's awesome. So I literally had all this stuff. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is went to the Soho Film Festival, 400 or 500 people in the theater. We see the film. We get done with the film.
Mhm.
The producer next to me, the $1 billion funder, looked at me and he goes, holy crap, you're amazing. He goes, you don't even know the other person exists. You're like, what?
Oh,
Because
wow.
there's a duel in the end, and I'm
Mhm.
doing it with Brandon, someone who's was one of the Supermen in a series, and so I go against him, and I die. Spoiler alert. But
Oh, don't do
yeah,
that.
but here's the thing: I'm walking out, and I'm in my express suit.
Uh-huh.
I clean up
You
okay.
do. You do.
And yeah, and so I'm like walking out and people are like talking to the other people, the lead woman and everything. They're like, you're amazing. People are walking up and going, wow, what a great film. So what do you do? Are you like the producer? And I'm like, no, I'm Carl. And they go, no fucking way. I go, yeah. I love the idea of
Yes.
changing. So for
Mhm.
General George C. Marshall, I'm sorry, to answer your
It's
question.
okay. To answer my question.
Yeah, damn it. I hope you don't have to edit this. So, in any case, I wound up immediately saying to myself, well, I have to learn about George Marshall. So I
Mhm.
got Audible, I got whatever, I went on, I spent 3 months. And
Wow.
I literally contacted the president of the General George C. Marshall Foundation in Virginia and said, I need to know as much as I can about it. He goes, you got to be, I am going to introduce you to to our Melissa Davis, who is the librarian for the last 25 years. She knows Marshall better than Marshall. And I'm like, ooh, nervous. I spent 3 months with her going back and forth, getting documents, getting this. I go, hey, what did he feel about the war? He was a boots on the ground general. He was a 5-star general. There's only three in history at that point. He wore this. He didn't do that. He looked like this. And so I got footage from her. I got everything. I watched his mannerisms. I did everything. I
Yes.
even knew the glasses he did. And I go so far as to because when I did a lot of theater
Mhm.
when you're doing community and regional theater, a lot of times they'll be like, here's your hat. And you're like, that's like from Party City. I'm not doing
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
I have an exorbitant amount of like real like stuff, like
Yes.
1800s top hats and all
Mhm.
this stuff and real watches. I got the same type style that he had of glasses. And even though I wasn't wearing them in the scene, you see me holding them. And
Mhm.
she saw the film and she goes, I was totally blown away because we gauged everything on General Marshall based upon Private Ryan, the movie, and there was a Marshall there. She goes, he looks like a caricature. She goes, I was blown away. You were Marshall. And in your mannerisms, even to the point where when I went to the fitting, it was a very funny story. Is I walked in and they had in the RV they had all my clothing,
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
look up on there, and the designer comes in and goes, "Here, try that suit on, and try that suit on." And I go, "What is this?" And he goes, "Well, this is your suits. There's one blue and one brown."
Mhm.
And I go, "Do you know who General George C. Marshall is?"
Yes.
And he
Yeah.
goes, "Well, I mean, no, he's a general. Yeah, okay." And
Well,
I go, "These are suits."
yeah.
And he goes, hold on. Jumps on his phone. All of a sudden, this guy comes in 10 minutes later. He's a military guy. And he goes, um, sure glad you caught that. And I go, well, and
Mhm.
then the designer comes in and goes, oh my God, I would have lost my job. Christopher would have fired me on the spot. I go, yeah. So they brought in the greens. We
Mhm.
did everything. They made the bars, everything they did.
Yes.
And then I went in and they said, here's what we want you to wear. Here's your wedding ring.
Mhm.
Here's your bub up. And I go, um, I got bad news. Glasses are wrong, and he didn't wear a wedding ring. They go, what? I go, he wore a pendant, military pendant ring on his pinky. That's what he wore. Here's the picture. Here's the glasses. Here's this. And they go, oh my God, this is amazing. So everything
Yes.
that I did, and I knew that General George Marshall was a boots on the ground general. Why
Mhm.
is that important? It's important because I knew that General Marshall would rather have troops go in there and end the war than to have a nuclear bomb because he wasn't into all this stuff.
Mhm.
However, at that time, Pearl Harbor, the South Pacific, he knew that Americans were really tired of war. So that decision was made. Now, you got to imagine, I know that first of all, I get on set. You mind if I tell this story? Oh, wait, go ahead.
You can tell it, but let's keep it short because I have so many other questions that I want to
Okay.
ask
Oh,
you.
you're not going to get to them. Yeah, I'm kidding.
Come on.
This is gonna be like a sequel. But I just have to tell you that
Right.
really quickly, the end of all this is that there's another reason why I love character work, and that is
Mhm.
that I spent so much time. Wow, did
Wow.
I? It's my hands or something.
Yes. He's
What?
still.
I'm trying. Oh yeah, good luck on
I
that one.
know, right?
Yeah, thanks, Angela. Nice try. All right. So, the thing is that I studied so much about General Marshall, and the reason why is because I didn't know who was going to be in that room. Now, you got to understand, I'm sitting in this room when we got there. We worked 12 hours on that scene,
Yeah.
and an IMAX film camera that goes the whole time, and it's bigger than anyway.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'm sitting across from Matt. So the military is here. I got James Remar,
Mhm.
Warriors, all this stuff he's done. Matt Damon,
Yeah.
Cillian Murphy, Josh Hartnett, Matthew Modine,
Oh my.
and a bunch of others that I know have a good name, but I don't remember them. And I'm
Mhm.
like the guy who no one knows. And in essence, that scene in the middle of the film, I knew it when I went to go look at it at Universal and I signed in, this thick. And in red, I knew that it was a pivotal part of the film. And then when I started reading my lines, I'm like, holy crap, I have the pivotal lines. If George Marshall said, yeah, it's not going to work, we're not funding it, you have no
Mhm.
movie, you have no atomic bomb.
Wow.
So the bottom line is that I knew the weight of that was so big
Mhm.
that I had to know so much about Marshall and my relationship between the characters in this
Mhm.
and what he actually did. And I did. And so when I got there, I went into mode and I did what I needed to do that. And I listened. And that's it. And then
Mhm.
people have watched it and said, you're like, you're up there with the big boys
Yes. Yeah.
and you didn't wait because I could have gone like this and gone, yeah,
Yeah,
everybody,
and shrink.
these are my
Yeah.
lines,
But
but I
no.
didn't. So
No.
sorry. Next question.
Next question. Thank you for watching. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure to follow Angela Merle and On the Edge with Angela Merle on IG for quick clips of every episode.